Talking about performing for the radio, we like to start by talking about nonverbal communication. Because people cannot see us, we have to consider what tools we have for them to use. Voice is the one that you probably often think about, but words is what's written on the script, so those take a part as well. Words only cover, though, 7% of the meaning, which means you have to make up for the rest of it with voice and body language. But on the radio, we don't have body language. We can use body language, but people can't see it. So it really puts a lot of emphasis on our voice work, the tone, the volume, the pitch, to help us really express our meaning. Energy is one factor we like to emphasize to our students because we don't want you to sound bored or like you aren't happy to be here. Nobody wants to listen to a DJ who sounds like that. So we try to get you to kind of come out of your shell. And at first, when you go on the air, you're kind of shy, unless you're really an expressive person, because you feel like you're overdoing it, overemphasizing it. But really, just let go, let the energy come with you, and it will sound so much greater. You may have this feeling like, oh, if I let go, I'll probably make more mistakes. Sometimes it's okay to stumble, as long as you sound like you're really talking to somebody rather than reading. Here are some examples of low energy. Nice song playing.
We're your community-friendly station, 88.5 KEON.
And the DJ came on and killed the mood. We don't like that. What about this? Woo, woo, woo. A lot of our students know this song.
Mesquite's hometown station. It's KEON, 88.5 FM.
Come on, buddy. You couldn't get into the song? Some ways to help improve your energy are to stand up, to use gestures, to make faces, let yourself express the meaning just behind the mic. Nobody's watching. You can loosen up by dancing around, punching the air. I always like to dance to the music before I go on the air. Just let go and communicate your message. Inflection is another factor that goes into performing. It includes pitch, pauses, and emphasis. And the way you do those things can completely change the meaning of a word. Looking at pitch, pitch is the upward and downward inflection. So usually you end a sentence with a downward inflection because that makes you sound confident in something. If I were to end a sentence in upward inflection, it sounds like a question. But your inflection shouldn't always go on a slope, down or up. There should be a certain rhythm to it.
Freckles can also be a result of overexposure to ultraviolet rays without protection, common with frequent tanners and beachgoers.
Starting this at the beginning.
Some people find freckles embarrassing, while others consider them beauty marks. All in all, you can't help being lentiginous. The word lentiginous means to be covered with freckles. Freckles are usually a trait of someone with red hair and a fair complexion.
Okay, first listening, you hear he sounds kind of happy, which is good. Good to have energy. But then you start to hear being lentiginous means to be covered with freckles. And so you hear the same thing occurring over and over. You don't want people to be able to predict your pattern. Here's a more conversational way of doing it.
Freckles are usually a trait of someone with red hair and a fair complexion, which is a far less common appearance than brown or black hair.
Okay, so you see he just emphasized the words that needed the most meaning and didn't have a pattern at the end of each sentence for emphasizing. Now for pauses, you need to pause in specific spots where it would make sense to pause. You don't want to pause like after two, where it doesn't make sense. Some examples of some not so great pauses.
Applicants need to be at least 16 years of age before hire must have certifications in CPR for the professional rescuer, first aid and AED.
So there we needed a pause. So be sure to place your pauses where they're needed to help bring out the meaning. And it helps you be able to breathe when you need to. Let's listen to this clip.
You're listening to the best in community service, programming, and sounds of the 70s, with a little 60s and 80s sprinkled in. This is KEOM 88.5 FM.
That was variation of pitch, but it didn't work out. It sounds like he was confused and didn't know what he'd say next. Part of the reason to practice, and when you plan, you want to sound confident, so know exactly how you'll say it when you go on the air. Here's an example of how changing an inflection can change the total meaning.
So, Jerome, I did a little snooping around for you.
Oh, what'd you find out, Lois?
Well, I talked to Tim Watley,
Yeah.
and I asked him, should Jerry bring anything?
Subtle.
And he said, why would Jerry bring anything?
All right, but let me ask you this question.
What?
Which word did he emphasize? Did he say, why would Jerry bring anything? Or, why would Jerry bring anything? Did he emphasize Jerry or bring?
I think he emphasized would.
So as you can see, that's an example of how just which word you emphasize changes the meaning. So that's why you should definitely plan out and figure out which words are important and how should you emphasize those to express your meaning. Some other examples are just with these. You could change up which word you emphasize and that completely changes the sentence. So if you say, is it true you only eat salad? That makes it sound like the person you're talking to, you're surprised that they only eat salad. Or, is it true you only eat salad? That makes it sound like you have doubts that they only eat salad. How about, I didn't say she liked him? Makes it sound like they're denying saying that she liked him. Somebody did, but not the person who's speaking. Or, I didn't say she liked him. They're insisting that it wasn't them. Or, I didn't say she liked him. Maybe they implied it. So you see how just a little bit of emphasis changes the whole meaning around. Here's a little clip to show how important practice could be.
Not many cars were moving, but mooing could be heard on the Capitol Beltway around Washington, D.C. early this morning. A tractor-trailer transporting Black and Gus, there's Black or Gus, was stopped on the side of the Beltway while the driver changed a flat tire.
Well, I wonder if those cows named Black and Gus were actually Black Angus cows, perhaps.
Black and Gus. Which is a possibility that I think I misinterpreted something.
No, that was a government source, wasn't it?
That's what he Black.
Anyway, enough about our cow naming impairment.
Okay, his partner caught it, but he had read the script wrong and thought the cows were named Black and Gus when they were actually Black Angus cows. You can be a little playful with mistakes sometimes. It's okay to make mistakes, but the goal is not to.